Is market gardening profitable? It might be, and it might be a lot more profitable than you think. Today, it's all about the X's and O's of market gardening profitability. Let's get into it. Hi, growers. Welcome to Modern Grower. I'm Diego, D-I-E-G-O, and for the past 11 years, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of farmers talking about their journey getting started in small-scale farming. I've learned a lot along the way, so my goal is to help teach you about the business of farming. So if you get into it, you can make a wise decision. Today, we're focusing on market gardening profitability. Last week, in part 1 of this series, I covered the basics. Is it profitable? And the answer to that was, it absolutely is. Today, we're going to look a little deeper at what those profits could look like and how you should think about the economics of market gardening. Because one of the issues that often comes up is, how profitable is it? That question. And it's really, I think, the wrong question to be asking, not just for market gardening, but for any business. You obviously want a business to be profitable, but when you think about it, every business can be profitable if it exists. So gas stations, restaurants, farms, there's all profitable versions of those. That doesn't mean they all are, but there is a profitable model. Instead, what you should be asking if you're looking to get into farming is, how much product can I sell? That's really the key to financial success. If you want to be getting fancy cars and riding on fancy planes as a farmer, you better sell a lot of product. Well, why sales? If you think about what profit is, sales minus expenses is profit. If we make 1 unit of profit off 1 unit of sales, then the only way to get profits up is to do more sales. So we really should be asking the question of how much I can sell. And that is a key theme I do want to carry through this video, because all the numbers we look at come with this little hidden asterisk: if you can sell it all. It's one thing to grow it. It's one thing to look at the numbers on paper. None of it actually counts in reality until it hits the books, until the money comes into your hands or gets tapped on your Square reader. That's when it becomes official. So none of this matters unless you can sell it. But I do want to address the divergence between how much you can actually make in reality and the clickbaity numbers that you see out there around online courses and videos and things like that, because there is some clickbaity content, some of which is very good, actually, with this idea of, oh, you can make $100,000 an acre, or $200,000 an acre, or $300,000 an acre. And I think you absolutely could. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone can in every market, but absolutely some people can if they do things the right way. And I know that they can because some people are. Because market gardening is profitable. It just is. What it costs you to raise the crops compared to what you can sell them for leaves you a really nice profit margin. So that doesn't mean that everyone will succeed, but some will, and they'll make a nice profit along the way. Now, profits don't make a business successful necessarily. It's really a management exercise at the end of the day. How well you can manage your expenses, manage your sales, is ultimately going to lead you to what profitability looks like on your farm. So let's start looking at some of these numbers and see what it looks like. Profit potential. It can be high because I think the profit margin on vegetable crops is high. So if you're thinking, well, let's start at a farm scale. How much could you make per year in profit? I think that number could be anywhere between $5,000 and $100,000 or more. It just comes down to how much you can sell. I'm hesitant to say every farm could make $100,000 in profit, because in order to do that, you probably have to sell $400,000 or $500,000 in product. And everyone can't do that. If you can only sell $50,000 of product in a year, well, then you're going to make about 10 or 12. So it scales up based on sales. Trying to drive that point home early. Sales matter here. If you're looking at just sheer profit numbers, how much ends up in your bank account at the end of the year, that comes down to managing expenses and driving sales up, up, up. If you can do that, more money ends up in the bank. But there is no formula for making massive profits without massive sales. You're not going to make $100,000 on an acre if you can only sell $30,000 worth of product. The math doesn't work like that, It's not contraband weapons or nuclear arms or something like that on a black market that fetches an insanely high profit margin. We're back in reality here as farmers. And the reality is, we have like a profit margin of 30 to 60% on a lot of crops, which is really good. So let's look at one of the crops that's very popular to grow, Salanova. For people who aren't familiar with Salanova, it's a specific type of lettuce that farmers grow because it produces really good yields, consistent leaf sizes, and a forecastable harvest. It's really the industry standard when people come to growing lettuce mix in market farms and probably the big farms. A lot of the lettuce that you get at places like Costco or the grocery store is Salanova. Been around for, at least 10 years now. Everybody's growing it. And salad mix, not Salanova, salad mix, or mesclun mix as some people might call it, not the mescaline that get you all high. Mesclun mix is one of the top 3 crops on the majority of market farms out there, for sure. Most farms are powered by greens. If you want green in your bank account, green in your wallet, you're going to grow a lot of greens. It's because greens are something people want. They're in high demand. Customers will pay a good amount for them. So you have large demand and customers willing to pay a premium, and they make good money. It often distinguishes farms from grocery stores because when people taste fresh salad mix, it tastes very different than store-bought salad mix. Salad mix grown here in El Centro or Yuma, Arizona, shipped to New York, is going to taste a lot different than something grown right down the road and harvested maybe the day before. Shelf life is a big winner for market farms when it comes to salad mix, so that's why it's popular. So let's look at that crop. I think it can yield 70% profit margin under ideal conditions. Again, assuming you sell it. So if you have a bed size, standard bed size in market gardens is 30 inches wide, 100 feet long. The total yield of salad mix that you can get off that bed under good conditions can be around 100 pounds. If you sell that lettuce at $7.50 a pound, that's a total revenue per bed of $750. $7.50, I think, is a very conservative per pound number for salad mix. A lot of salad mix farms are selling for much higher than that, and they're not in super bougie markets either. Very average markets. This isn't like, I got to sell into New York City or Las Vegas or Los Angeles. That's not where these prices are coming from. $7.50 a pound is what people are doing in Tennessee and Indiana and Ohio and places like that. Not crazy. Your total costs on that bed, which you sold for $750, is around $225. You can make that you can get that profit off that bed in about 60 days. So 60 days get you 750 minus 225 leaves you a profit of $525. That's a profit margin of 70%. Well, where did these numbers come from? Are you just pulling them out of the air? I talked about the $7.50 a pound. That's not pulled out of the air. That's market rate. Let's look at the labor, because labor is going to be your big cost in growing anything on a market farm. Before we get into the labor costs, let's look at what are the other potential costs. You have seed. You have some soil and potting mix. You have amendments on the beds. Maybe you do some sort of spraying. Maybe you pay for water. And then you get into more infrastructure costs like electricity and stuff like that, which is spread across the whole farm. Of all those, none of them are even close to what labor is. A lot of farm labor, you're paying around $20 an hour, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less in certain areas, actually a lot less in certain areas. I'm still shocked that people can pay farm workers like $14 an hour in parts of the country. I don't know how those people live on $14 an hour, but they do it. So $20 an hour, just going to use that number is a going rate. But for this exercise, I'm going to use 25. And $25 an hour is the labor rate I'm using in this calculation. So I'm building in some factor of safety here, something you should do anytime you run numbers. And I'm going to assign 5 hours worth of work to that single bed over those 60 days, which I think is pretty realistic. And that work is going to include nursery work, transplanting, cultivation, harvesting, packing, and selling. One bed, 5 hours. Seeding takes a few minutes. You water it through the first 30 days, growing up the plug. Takes a few minutes each day. You plant it. That's going to be the largest chunk of your labor. Transplanting the lettuce. You can do it by a paper pot transplanter like we sell at Modern Grower. You could do it by hand. You're an hour into it, at least, on a bed. Maybe faster in some scenarios, but let's say an hour for this exercise. You do weeding. Now, depending on your weed control, I'm giving you a few hours of that over the course of 60 days. Again, for just one bed. This is not weeding the whole farm. One bed. And I think you're going to be about 5 hours into this at the end of the day. That's 5 times 25. Gives you $125 in labor costs. We just said that's your biggest cost by far. People say, oh, seed's expensive. Salanova seed is expensive. Salanova seed is cheap compared to labor. You can buy seed all day, but you want to get your labor costs down. And if I look at total inputs, I think I'm being very generous here. $100 per bed. That's seeds, pots, amendments, the bag you put it in, your label, all that stuff. Total costs, $225. Total revenue, $750. Total revenue minus total costs is total profit, $525. That's a profit margin of 70%. You might think, yeah, Diego, that's crazy. I can't make that much. Fine. Double your labor costs. Your labor's now $250, not $125. It's $250. Your profit margin now is still 57%. It's almost hard to get the profit margin low in this scenario. If you're selling for $7.50 a pound, look how hard it is to get your profit margin above or below 50%, to get your costs above 50%. Half of $7.50 is $3.75. Your seed and that stuff, we gave $100, so you have $275 to play around in labor. That'd be 11 hours in labor on one bed. If you're paying $25 an hour, it's a lot. It's a lot of labor. Now your revenue could go down, and we could run those numbers. Then I would really, though, do question, where are you selling? You don't want to be selling salad mix for $3 a pound. Anybody who's market farmed for a long time says that is not going to work. So you need to be at the higher end. Maybe we go down from $7.50, which I think, again, is already low to start with. Maybe you're into $6.50 or $5.50 or something like that a pound. And this is direct to consumer. This is selling at the farmer's market. This isn't selling wholesale to a grocery store or a restaurant or some sort of distributor. So that profit margin's good. That works. Again, you have to sell it all. I'm going to say that about 800 times in this video because I know people will be on me and they'll say, well, you can't sell that much or you have to sell it all. Yes, correct. You have to sell it though, because fancy numbers are nothing but numbers unless they can be made true in reality. And the only way we make these things real is by actually doing it and selling it. So that's one of the keys of profitability. You have to sell it all. Another key here is pricing. And I talked about that on Salanova. You need to be pricing it at the premium side of the market. Doesn't mean your $25 a pound lettuce that is kissed by God. LeBron James once sweated on this lettuce, and it is the greatest lettuce of all time. Tom Brady also looked at it. So it's amazing lettuce. $25 a pound. Tom Brady looked at it. You have to be pricing this stuff at the appropriate level for the scale you're at. If you're trying to price against grocery stores, you probably can't get enough revenue to offset your costs. Now let's look at this on an annualized basis. It's great to see one bed, but one bed is just one part of a farm. How much could I make if I did this over the course of a long growing season? If you could make $525 per bed per rotation, what I mean by per rotation is you grow the crop once and you harvest the whole bed. Now the bed is ready to be replanted again with a new crop. That's one rotation where you start with bare soil, you grow a crop, you harvest the crop, come back to zero, we're ready to be planted in. That's one rotation. If you do 3 rotations per year on that bed of Salanova, you've made $1,575 on that one bed in profit, assuming all the other numbers that we're using are correct. 3 back and forth, 60 days each, about 180 days, like half the year. That works in a lot of geographies around North America. Not all of them, but many of them. And isn't that crazy? If you could do that on 25 beds, you could make $39,375. So if you had 25 beds just pumping in Salanova the whole time, we grow it, we harvest it, we grow it, we harvest it. Obviously, there's different timing there. You're not harvesting all 25 and then replanting all 25, at once, because you need to have succession here. So they're staggered. But you can make about 40 grand in profit. 25 beds, just selling lettuce, 3 rotations per year. I know some people are going to be like, good luck selling all that lettuce. Good luck selling it all. Maybe, yeah. But I'm just using the point to illustrate how the numbers can stack up. Because then it becomes a selling exercise. If you have that many beds and you're getting that 100 pounds per bed, and we're doing, 500 pounds of salad mix a week, that's a lot of salad mix to move. Don't get me wrong. You're going to have to go to restaurants to move some of that. But you could make 40 grand. Now we could swap out other crops in there and, you grow 10 beds of salad mix and you grow carrots and stuff. They're going to have different profit margins, but we're going to be in the ballpark. This gets us going. It gives us some numbers to think about. So we're not just like, I'm going to get freaking rich here doing this, man. I can't wait. I'm going to buy a new Jeep. I'm going to raise the Jeep. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Well, let's put some real numbers and say, well, are you going to be able to get the Jeep or are you going to be living in the poorhouse? Maybe you're living out of the Jeep at the end of the year. And hopefully it's neither, because they both sound like bad moves. So what are some other keys here? Well, one, we have to know our numbers. Because this is all paper. I'm giving you hypothetical numbers to start. You're at the beginning of your journey. And you're saying, or you want to grow a new crop. This is how you think about growing that new crop. This is how you think about business planning. Now you're doing it. It's important to really know your numbers. How much did you spend on seed on that bed? How much fertilizer or compost are you putting on that bed for that specific crop? There's a difference if I put $10 worth of compost on a bed at the beginning of the season and then I grow 4 crops in that bed. That's $2.50 of compost per crop versus if I do $10 every time I plant a crop. So different numbers. But again, when you look back, you just look at that compost example, $2.50 a bed on something you're generating $750 from. It's pretty much zero. It kind of doesn't matter. It's having no effect. It's shooting spitballs at a T-Rex in Jurassic Park. He's not even feeling them. They're just bouncing off. So know your numbers, know your costs, and the big one is labor. How long does it take me to seed a tray of said crop? How long does it take me to transplant it? How long am I spending cultivating that bed? How long am I spending harvesting that bed and then running all that stuff through wash pack, cleaning it and bagging it? Without those numbers, you are flying blind and you're totally guessing how much money you're making. Now, we probably are making money given some of the scenario I ran through, but how much? It's like, if I don't know my numbers, I don't know how much I'm making. And you actually might not be. So this is where you do have to check. The other part of this is farming isn't done in a vacuum. Like, we don't just sell a crop and then take the profits and put those in the bank. We're going to need to use those profits for other things. And this is where profitability gets a little case sensitive. Everybody's a little different. Because if you look at the profit per bed that you can make on a crop, that might be very different than the profits that a farm makes on their tax return. So people say, well, that farm makes $500,000 a year does $500,000 a year in sales. How profitable are they? If you just run these numbers, they might be making $200,000 in profit. But if you look at their tax return, it might say they made 40. Because maybe they invested some of that money into infrastructure. Maybe they invested some of that into tools. Maybe there's other equipment in there. So there's tax planning strategies that come into effect. It's not always tax return income that can judge a farm, because savvy business owners are often doing things to lower their tax burden as much as possible, staying above board, staying legal. Talk to your CPA. But you will need to use some of that profit to cover these expenses, and you will have to pay yourself. If you're working as a farmer of one or a farm of two, a lot of times people don't pay themselves. How are you living? How are you affording to live? You're going to need to take money out of this to pay yourself. So that labor costs in your profit of Salanova should ideally be what you're paying yourself if it's just you farming. Too many farms don't count their own labor on their income statement. They're donating their time to their business and they're like, well, I'll just win at the end of the day. Yeah, but you got to pay for living now. The power company wants to be paid every month, not at the end of the season when you finally win. So do count what you're paying yourself, and you should be paying yourself. How you manage all of the profits that come in from all of your crops is a management exercise that some people are good at and some people aren't. Let's just face it. Some people love to spend money on food or tools or new things or new courses or whatever in their personal life and in their business life. You can make money off these vegetables. Just make sure you don't spend away the money you've made off the vegetables quicker than you can make it. If we grew Salanova, it takes 60 days to make that $75. I can spend that money in an instant. Gone. 60 days worth of work, gone in an instant. Just make sure if you are instantly spending that money, you're spending it on something that you need. You're spending it on something that makes your business better, that helps you make more money. And it's not just some frivolous thing that you think you need because you saw it on Instagram or TikTok. Because you are going to need to retain money in the business for emergencies, for growth, for expansion. You're going to need to pull money out to support your lifestyle. I don't mean extravagant, living like the YouTube vlogger thing. Like, look at me, I flew Emirates first class. This is what it's like. $25,000 for the flight. We're not there yet in the farming industry, but you can make a good living. I don't want to say there's no challenges in doing this, because there obviously are challenges. There's many of them. This is farming. It's hard. It's hard work for sure. You're facing weather challenges. You're facing labor challenges and market challenges. This is a labor-intensive business. People get into farming because they love growing. Well, you better love doing hard work in hard conditions, because that's what this is. It's tough. It's hot. It's sweaty. It's dusty. It's dirty. It can be cold, wet, rainy, muddy. And not a lot of people in this whole TikTok, Instagram generation want to have any part of that. They're like, I'd rather play some Stardew Valley game and on my computer and like farm on my computer. That sounds fun. I think Roblox has a farming game. I can farm in Minecraft. And finding good help can be hard. This is a huge struggle. I've heard a lot of farmers talk about this, that finding reliable, high quality, good help is hard, especially if you're not hiring somebody full time. If you just need somebody to come in part-time, it can be tough, but farms do it. And if you want somebody good, you just got to pay up to keep them. That's why I use that $20, $25 labor rate, which includes the financial burden of hiring somebody above board. You're going to have to pay taxes, insurance, that type of thing. So if you're $25 on the books, I'm assuming you're more like $20 in costs. And then that extra 25% or $5 is your labor burden of what it costs you to hire an employee above board. There can be a lot of competition out there. Nothing in this video is implying if you show up, it will work. Nothing is implying that anyone can just do this. I'm just showing you that it's possible. The numbers say it's possible. The numbers say that we can hit a target a mile away with a sniper rifle. Does it mean anybody pulling the trigger can do that? No, it doesn't. Some markets are saturated. Some will have competition. You're going to have to find the right market that you can build in that supports your lifestyle. If you need $50,000 a year to live and you can only sell 25 in your market, you're going to have to find another market, move to another market, do something. Not every market's going to work. That's a whole nother episode. That's something we've talked about a ton on the Farm Startup podcast, which you can watch those episodes here on this YouTube channel of dealing with a market and building a small farm in a small town. So markets can be saturated, towns can be small. Doesn't mean it works for everybody. There's weather and pest risks. Like we know that with growing. Like nature is out to get you. So that's going to provide challenges here. You're not always going to get consistent yields across every bed throughout the full year. You're going to lose some to cold. You're going to lose some to pests. So you can't just always assume a best case scenario. And there is a large learning curve in doing this. It might take a year for even an experienced farmer to get their feet under them. You're not showing up day one and doing this. This isn't championship bingo or championship slots where you can walk off the street and just be like a player from day one. This is going to take a lot of time to learn. You're learning a trade. For some reason, people think this is easy. It's not. Imagine I asked you to go make a forge a knife or make a leather saddle. That's going to take years to really get that thing to be perfect and beautiful. Farming's the same way. You're telling me you want to just show up off the street after watching some videos like this and start a farm, and you want to learn how to grow 10 different crops all at once really well while building a farm infrastructure up, while building a customer base? No. Not happening right out of the gates. If you think that, you're in the wrong space. This is not the lottery. This is not some get-rich-quick scheme. It can be a get-rich-long scheme. And I define rich as making a good living, having an amazing lifestyle, eating amazing food. I'm not saying you're going to be Kylie Jenner or Elon Musk, but you can do really well doing this if you play your cards right. But to get there, it's going to take hard work and a lot of failure, not from day one. So wrapping it all up, market farming is profitable. Individual crops can be very profitable if you control your costs, if you sell to the right market and price them the right way, and if you can sell it all. And if you're thinking about getting into farming, know that this works. And don't worry so much about the profits. Instead, focus on how much can I sell? Because if you can sell enough, your profits will take care of themselves. It all starts on the sales side. You have to move enough product, as much product as you possibly can, off your land base to make money doing this. If you can't do that, then you're out of luck. That's all for this video. If you want to learn more, be sure to check out all of my podcasts, which I've linked to below. Hundreds and hundreds of them that you can use to learn more about your farming journey. Be sure to check out the other videos on microgreens by Seth and Chris here on this channel. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have comments, thoughts, other videos you want me to do, if you think I'm batshit crazy for doing videos like this, and my numbers are way out to left field and they make no sense, hey, tell me. I'm open to the criticism. Leave a comment below. But I hope you have a good day. I hope your journey into this space goes well if that's the journey you're embarking on your life. Wish you the best. But as always, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.